Kim from KimberlyKoehler.com, Emerging Creatively Tutorials, and this is ECT TV Episode 2. I have a great show planned for you today. The tutorial is a simple stringing tutorial, and I'll teach you 2 different ways to close crimp beads. Now, this might be something you already know how to do, but I want to make sure everybody has a good understanding of that, because without that understanding, it's hard to make other jewelry. The more tools you know, the more things you know how to do, the more creative you can get with your jewelry. The project is going to be something that's going to really get your creativity flowing. It's not just your normal stringing tutorial, although you can use it for that. And then I have a tip to get your creativity flowing even if it's blocked. This is something I use all the time. It's simple and you can do it. It's also not simple, but we'll get to that next. Today's creativity tip is to clean your workspace. I'm standing here in my workspace. These are my shelves full of my supplies, and I have way too much. So it can be a little overwhelming to make a decision on what to create. So my goal is for this year to go through everything, make sure it's organized, and probably donate maybe 50% of what I have. So my tip to you is to go to your work table, maybe you keep everything in a bin or a drawer, go there, organize what you have, and see what you have. So this works in 2 ways. One is it gets your mind off of creativity and onto another task, and while I'm doing menial things is when I come up with my best ideas. So in the shower, cleaning, that sort of thing. The second reason that I like to do this is when you are going through and organizing everything, you are going to find things that you forgot that you even purchased, things you didn't even know you had, and that is going to spark creativity for you too. So, go clean your workspace, get it organized, and while you're doing it, collect the beads for our jewelry project for today. Today we're making an intuitive necklace. So, what does that mean? We're going to make it without designing it ahead of time. So what I want you to do is, as you're going through your beads, pull out beads that are kind of orphan beads. Maybe you had a big strand, you used it for a project, and you have, I don't know, 5 or 6 left, maybe just 1, a couple. Get a bowl, start putting them in there. And as you're going through cleaning, just do that. It doesn't matter the colors, none of that really matters, just put them together. Now, if you're new and you don't have a bead collection yet, or maybe you just have a couple strands, then your assignment is to either go to a thrift store, like I mentioned in episode 1, find some old jewelry to take apart, and come home and take it apart, put it in the bowl. Or you can go to a bead store or a craft store or wherever you get your beads and just kind of browse and pull whatever beads call to you. Don't think about the design necessarily, just find beads that you truly love and that you want to work with and get those. So go clean your workspace, gather up some beads, and I will see you in a minute. So do you have a bowl of beads ready? I know I do. I just wanted to say something about color choices for this intuitive jewelry piece. I know I said color doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter, but that might be a little overwhelming or intimidating for you. So if you choose to work in a certain color palette, that's of course just fine. However you want to do it is fine. I ended up finding a whole bunch of blue and green beads that I actually had forgotten about. And so I kind of decided to make choices based on blue and green more than other colors. There are some other colors though in my bowl. some of these beads I have had since the beginning of time, I believe, so I'm kind of excited to finally use them. I have been making jewelry a really long time, so I have tons of beads that are extras from projects that I've done, you know, maybe 10 years ago. So it's exciting to finally use them. Now, we're going to make an intuitive necklace. I'm going to teach you how to do simple stringing, and so we're just going to be beading kind of freely onto the cord that you're going to use. So don't set the beads up ahead of time, don't design, just choose what your gut tells you to do. This is so freeing, and I think you're going to love it. So let's get started. This is what you need for this project. You'll need beading wire. Now you'll see that this is 7-strand, so this is not very good beading wire. The higher the strands, the better the quality of the beading wire. I'm making this just for myself, so I'm okay with just using that. So the higher the number of strands, the better the quality of the beading wire. You'll need your beads. You will need a clasp of some sort. I'm using a toggle clasp with a pretty little rose on it that I got from Happy Mango Beads. It is pewter. You will need either a crimping tool or chain nose pliers, and you do not need both. One or the other is fine. Some tape or a bead stop to stop the beads at the end of your wire. And then you'll need some crimp beads. Crimp beads are very, very tiny, and I'm just going to leave them in this bag for now so they don't get loose. You'll need about 4 of those. And then these are crimp bead covers. So the difference between these two, crimp beads look like tubes. They look like beads, little tiny beads. The bead covers look more kind of like clams. So these are very hard to close because you have to smush them, and the covers are not easy to close. I've had this question previously, that's why I'm telling you in detail. So those are your supplies for the intuitive necklace. So step 1 really is to decide how long you would like your necklace. Maybe you would like to make a long one that you can double up and wear like different ways. Maybe you just want to make a short necklace, maybe 18 inches or so. So make that decision, and then you're going to cut your wire to that length. Actually, you're going to leave approximately 3 inches on either side of the wire. So I just measured around my neck so I could decide exactly how long. And I forgot to tell you one tool you'll need, and that's wire cutters to cut the wire. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and use my wire cutters and cut my wire where I want it. And I just wanted to tell you, I have an ebook called Wire Wrapping for Beginners. I actually have it in ebook form and print form, and among a lot of other information, one thing I do talk about is necklace size and all the different sizes, so you might want to check that resource out. Now that I have this cut, I want to put something on the end of the wire to hold the beads from falling off. So you can, I usually honestly just use Scotch tape. And you can either tape it right down to your work table, or you can, if you don't want to be bogged down by that, just sort of tape it around the wire like that. It's hard to see because the tape is clear, but I just kind of taped it on itself. And then the fun begins. So grab your beads and start beading. So you just slide the bead onto the wire. Now, I know I said that to not pre-design your jewelry for this piece, for this intuitive necklace, but you can kind of design as you go. You don't have to close your eyes and magically pick out the bead. You can just kind of look and be like, okay, here's a bead. This is a green one. And you can choose the next one based on that. I mean, really, it's your necklace. You can do whatever you want with it. But what I'm doing is kind of more like designing on the fly a little bit. So go ahead and just have fun and bead away. Alright, once you have all the beads that you want and you have made your necklace as long as you want it, and mine is very long, so I've decided to make it so I can double it, we can finish the necklace. So what you need are your crimp beads. I like to use 2 on each side, and that's just to be extra safe. Some people only use 1, but I like to use 2. Alright, so this is how I do it. Place a crimp bead onto the end of your necklace. And then I'm going to place another small bead and then another crimp bead. So at the end you'll have a crimp bead, a regular bead, and then another crimp bead. Then take one end of your clasp and add that. And then you're going to take the end and go back through the crimp bead, the regular bead, the other crimp bead, and then a few more of your beads from your necklace. And then pull that pretty tight, but it doesn't, you don't want it to be super tight for the very end crimp bead. Okay, so I told you I was going to show you 2 different ways to close a crimp bead. So the first way is by using a crimp tool. You can get this at any beading store. So you'll see on a crimp tool there are 2 notches, a bigger notch and a smaller notch. First you'll put it into the bigger notch, the crimp bead into the bigger notch. Then you're going to fold the crimp bead over by using the smaller notch. This is going to be probably very hard to see on this video, but we'll do our best. So, you take the bead and you place it into the bigger notch and you press. And then your bead will sort of have a notch in the middle of it. It's kind of almost folded in half already. And then you just put it in the smaller part and close it. Okay, now take a crimp bead cover which is a kind of clamish looking bead. And then hold it in your chain nose pliers. And then you just place it around the crimp bead and close it. And when you're done, it should look like a normal bead, not smushed or destroyed. Alright. So try that again for the second bead. So the bigger notch, and then you do the smaller notch and fold it in half, and then you get another crimp bead cover and put it in your pliers and close it around. So that's kind of what that looks like. And then just put the tail of the wire, thread it through some of the beads of your necklace. Oops. And then you can just trim off the excess with your wire cutters. Now on this side, I am going to show you another way to close a crimp bead. So I'm just going to do the same thing again. It's going to be a crimp bead, then a regular bead, which my regular bead is actually this cute little bug, and then a crimp bead, and then the other end of your toggle clasp, or whatever kind of clasp you're using, and then thread it, the wire back through, okay. And put through one more bead. Okay. Now, to use chain nose pliers, it's kind of similar but different. All you're going to do is take that crimp bead and smash it flat. Then you're going to get a hold of the crimp bead so that the chain nose pliers are halfway. The end of the chain nose plier is in the middle of the crimp bead. Place it down on your workspace and then bend it up. And then you just simply take your chain nose pliers and smush it in half. And then just do the same thing again with a crimp bead cover using your chain nose pliers. Oops. And close it. Alright. And then just repeat that for the second crimp bead again. And then, like you did before, just trim off any excess wire. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention. Before you trim off the excess wire, pull on your crimp, the wire to make sure the crimp bead is actually secure. Because it's easier to fix when you still have all the wire than it is later. So that is the intuitive necklace, and I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next week. So I really hope you had fun making the intuitive necklace, and it really makes you feel more free and creative. For more information, for photographs of this tutorial, and for even more ways to have fun with it, come to my website at www.kimberlykohler.com. KimberlyKohler.com. Thanks so much.